Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring Disaster or Peace, the Magical Girl role-playing game. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this experience where you can play those scenes, those scenarios, those adventures that you would expect to find in manga, anime and such, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about the Game Master section, the bestiary sort of section, and I am going to give you my thoughts on the entire game. Let's start with the Game Master section. You have an explanation of the GM basics, that is, pretty fundamental stuff, telling you how to set up a session 0, taking notes, checking with your players to find out the overall tone and theme of the game that you want to play. You also have information how to handle sensitive topics, and how to be a fan of your players, that is, you want the player characters to look cool. Even if they fail, even if they are defeated or if they lose their powers, you want them to look good, you want them to create this legendary story. But of course, with some intelligence, wisdom and luck, the player characters will end up triumphant in the end. You also have details on the actions of the Game Master. In this role-playing game, the Game Master doesn't roll. Instead, the Game Master makes moves based off of the player character's moves. These moves are the previously mentioned complications in other parts of this review that arise when the player character does not succeed with a full success or better. When a player character makes a partial success, the Game Master makes one or more soft moves. When a player character fails completely, the Game Master makes one or more hard moves. Let me give you some examples. Let's say that you want to perform or carry out a soft move as a Game Master. Perhaps you reveal an unfortunate truth, or maybe you start a challenge clock. Maybe you want to apply hard moves. In this case, perhaps things escalate from risky to desperate. Or maybe you take away one tick of progress on a challenge clock the player characters are working to defeat. There's also details on setting position and effect. Position and effect typically flow from the fiction and the conversation that runs between the Game Master and the players. The evolving situation will usually suggest a particular level of danger or risk, and the player's reaction to it will typically guide you towards their level of ability to overcome that risk to achieve their goals. There are also details on the forces of evil. The enemies of disaster or peace are alien beings bent on the destruction or subjugation of life on Earth. Their forms are myriad, and most have the power to pass for human. But when they use their power, there is no mistaking them for anything but what they are. They are creatures from outside our world, who will stop at nothing in order to take your light and power and use it to serve their own capricious whims. This rulebook includes the Suit Arcana, a bevy of tarot-themed adversaries ready to square off against the magical knights. But creating your own rogues gallery tailored to the theme of your game is quick, easy and fun. That is, you could think of these enemies, this bestiary, as templates. So you can use these templates or elements in any Magical Girl setting that you want. You even have some guidelines for that. How to build a classic enemy arc. You choose a unifying theme for your rogues gallery. Then you create your big evil. Next, you give the big evil a champion. Then you give the champion some captains. You give those captains some lieutenants, and finally give the lieutenants some minions. It's that easy. I am going to go through some of the enemies included here without spoiling things. You have the Empress. The Empress is evil personified, not the cackling cat-stroking sort. The cold-blooded sort, which treats people as things to be used and casually discarded. She has no loyalty to anything. Her ethos cannot conceive of anything beyond herself. If you face her, the world as we know it is ending. We also have the Court of Wands. The Court of Wands delights in the pursuit of power by theft for preference. They are led by the Magician of the Major Arcana. The Magician is a master of the arts arcane, imbued with the powers of darkness and cocksure self-assurance. This sort of enemy prefers not to sully their hands with low pursuits when summoned, and ultimately disposable servitors work just as well. We also have the Court of Cups, which seeks to warp perceptions and turn allies into enemies. They are led by the lovers of the Major Arcana. The lovers are two glam rock jokers, inseparable, two sides of the same coin. They are devilishly strong by themselves, but together they are cackling, cavorting, crooning murder. And you'll never find them apart. They are two halves of a whole. Sometimes they finish each other's sentences. You have all the information for these enemies, you have the moves that they use, the number of their clocks, and the questions related to their backgrounds. And like I said, this is just a sample of what is contained in this rulebook. You can look at these different enemies or templates as guidelines to create your own repertoire of bad guys. So what do I think of Disaster or Peace? I think this is a great role-playing game to represent those situations that you would see in the Magical Girl genre. Any sort of story, Sailor Moon, Magic Knight, Ray Earth, Magical Girl Asuka, all of that. You can come up with your own universe, emulating any of those stories, or you could play within those settings, using the templates and the moves and the information contained in this book to run a sort of fanfiction version of your own interpretation of those settings. This role-playing game certainly leans more towards storytelling. There are many resources to help the player characters along the way, and to modify the events of the adventures. However, throughout the stories, there can be death, there can be tragedies. You could end up losing your magical girl powers, but that's part of the fun, of the drama. And because the character creation system is so flexible, so adaptable to any subgenre of the magical girl experience, and because of the magical abilities and powers that are able to represent any sort of special attack that you would see in anime, manga, video games, etc., you will be able to create and play any adventure that you can imagine. Thank you for watching this review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.